mynews.studio.
Picture a small classroom in the South. Every student receives a brand new book. But behind that simple scene, there's actually a network at work. Families, teachers, and nonprofits all pulling together. It's reshaping how kids are recovering from the pandemic's impact on reading. Could this approach be what other places need too?
Today's date is January 27th, 2026. What we're unpacking is this idea of literacy ecosystems. Basically, these are collaborations among teachers, families, and nonprofits. They're helping reverse learning loss across the U.S., especially in reading. But what actually makes a literacy ecosystem different from just, say, giving students more homework to do at home?
It comes down to coordination on all fronts. Here's what happens. Nonprofits like Reading is Fundamental provide the books, but that's just the entry point. Teachers align those books with evidence-backed reading instruction, a lot of which draws from the science of reading. Then, families get activities and guidance to support reading at home, not just during school hours. So it's not simply about handing out materials. It's about ongoing feedback and reinforcement among home, school, and the wider community.
And there's some compelling data already. Over 100 districts have actually surpassed their pre-pandemic reading proficiency. What stands out is how nonprofits like Magpie Literacy are introducing tools like Stanford's Roar, real-time reading assessments. That way, teachers can adjust instruction before a student falls behind. This feels like a big shift from the old system, where assessments only happened once a year and mostly looked backward, right?
Exactly. It's a real difference. Teachers and families can now address issues as they come up. Plus, after-school programs are a huge part of this. Families and nonprofits work together to improve attendance and give kids extra, hands-on reading time. This approach has been especially effective in the South. Those districts are seeing some of the fastest improvements.
But what about students who are older? We know 8th grade reading proficiency in the U.S. has barely budged for years, about 30% if I remember correctly. And more than half of educators say older students are still missing basics like phonics. So how are these literacy ecosystems reaching beyond the early grades?
That's a tough area. Most of the focus and funding has gone to early grades, K through 3. But some groups are pushing further. For example, RIF is now extending programs into middle schools. In states like Louisiana, there are new requirements for science of reading strategies all the way through higher grades, including mandatory dyslexia screening. Some districts are building cross-grade teams, teachers from different levels collaborating. That's led to remarkable results, like first-grade classes reaching full literacy and older grades making big strides. Some call it the Mississippi Miracle.
Still, scaling this isn't straightforward. The pandemic relief funding for after-school, over $10 billion, is ending soon. And teacher training is another sticking point. Nearly 40% of teachers for older students report they aren't getting support to teach foundational reading. Plus, educational tech isn't always used consistently. How are schools trying to get around these hurdles?
Some districts are forming coalitions to push for more stable, long-term funding. Others turn to affordable online tools, especially where teachers are spread thin, like in rural communities. States are updating teacher training to include support for older readers. And there's a move toward outcomes-based contracts, so districts only pay for tech that's actually being used in classrooms, not just sitting unused.
Let's dig into technology a bit more. How is data actually being used to make sure students don't slip through the cracks? Real-time feedback sounds important.
It's huge. With tools like Stanford's Roar, teachers see students' reading progress instantly. AI helps personalize reading material and can even identify students who might be at risk before they fall behind. There are online tutoring platforms that give kids access to extra help whenever they need it. If they miss something in class, they can catch up at home. And because families are looped into the feedback, they're more involved in filling the gaps.
This approach seems designed to adapt and travel. Could it work in places outside the U.S., especially regions with fewer resources or very different school systems?
That's really the main lesson here. The essentials, local partnerships, access to printed books, and small evidence-based adjustments can be used in many contexts. Rural areas, for example, can turn to online resources to ease teacher shortages. Focusing on multiple grade levels helps older students, no matter the country. The model isn't just about recovering from setbacks. It's about making education systems more resilient for whatever comes next.
And the stakes are high everywhere. Learning losses after the pandemic aren't just an American story. If local action can drive system-wide change, then this isn't only hopeful, it's a practical guide for families, teachers, and policymakers worldwide.
We've covered how a network of teachers, families, and nonprofits is not just restoring, but actually improving reading rates beyond pre-pandemic levels. We looked at the mechanics: book distribution, teacher support, after-school programs, real-time data, and talked through the hurdles, from scaling up to reaching older students. And we asked, what would it take to adapt this model around the world?
Thanks for joining us. Whether you're a parent, a teacher, or just someone interested in education, these literacy ecosystems show how local efforts can tackle big challenges.
Thank you for listening. This episode was brought to you by mynews.studio. You can try it now for free.